Recording.
Hello.
Hello.
This is the BBC.
This is welcome to the BBC.
This is the P and T.
The P and T.
The B. The B and T. The
BLT.
The B and T.
The B and T.
And I'm not talking Babylon and Tig. The Boom and Twang Broadcast
Boom and
Authority.
Twang broadcasting from BBC House. Welcome to my studio.
It's a
Mr.
whole
Turner.
new. He was going to say podcast, but it's not. We're doing a. This is a multi-dimensional. You'll notice that you're probably getting a certain smell now.
Which wasn't here until you turned up.
That is also coming from this
It
new
wasn't
technology
here.
that we're using. This captures the smell,
The smelly mic.
and
Yes, it does.
you'll get some. You're probably getting quite warm as well.
It is warm in here. We've got how many? We've got 3 cameras running today.
That's how I
As
like to
my
roll.
brain is about to explode. Have you ever seen that scene?
I'm
in
not used to
Tremors?
them all being in front of me.
You love it. You
I
film
usually
yourself.
have one.
Paul Turner films himself doing everything. Constantly sends me pictures of.
But it keeps me feeling comfortable. I keep feeling. That's how I know when I walk down the street. I can carry myself a certain way because I've practiced it.
Well, in fact, you know, Ken was modelled on you in the Barbie movie. He was modelled on you, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Ken Turner. I watched that the other day, actually.
You didn't.
I did. It
Was
was.
it Ryan Gosling?
It was.
I refuse to watch anything with it.
Why? Why is that?
My wife just
Your wife-
starts moaning about him.
Moaning.
Not like, not in the way that she moans about me.
A different tone in the moan.
Even
Yeah,
my
I get
sons
that.
know what's going down.
Yeah,
there.
well, he's a handsome chap. Yeah,
Mm.
funny that, isn't it? Gets to be the leading star in a movie, and we watched it the other day, and Ray was going, "I know you fancy Margot Robbie. Never heard of her. Who are you talking about? Who? Margot Robbie? Isn't she a journalist for the BBC? Never heard of her. Actually, you know, it was a
Maybe
good
I
film.
will watch it actually.
It was a good film. It was actually not what I thought it was going to be. But welcome to my
Thank you. It's nice.
messy studio. I did tidy it up a little bit for you, but it's all gone. If you could see the fucking chaos behind the camera, it's like everything's been shoved up to one. It looks like a scene of the Titanic where the ship's gone on one side and everything's just ended up over the other side. But we're here today. So you've been on here before. You've been on my podcast before.
I'm a regular. Yeah,
You're
I'm
a
a veteran.
You're irregular.
But I mean, I was keen to come back on because I noticed the residuals just started to dip a little.
Dip a little bit lower
Yeah,
than nothing.
And,
Yeah, how can it
And so
dip
I
lower
thought-
than nothing?
I need to go
But-
back.
Eh?
But I thought I need to come back. But
Well,
also, it was
We didn't
nice
do
to
it in
come back.
person last time. We did it over Zoom last time.
No, I did it here.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Did we film
Which
it?
has made me feel totally. I now feel very weird.
See you later, darling.
I now feel very weird that you've forgotten. about
Well,
that.
there's been a lot of water under the bridge since
Mm.
then, so
You probably had a
You
lot
came
more.
here.
A lot of other people in here.
yeah. Well, none actually. We have had no. I have.
Right.
This is the first time I've done this.
But it's. Yeah. It's
And who
nice
knows?
to
It
be
might
here.
not actually work. Running 3 cameras and a microphone and having 2 guitars plugged in. It's a bit above my pay grade, really. So, what have you been up to, Mr. Turner?
I have just
What have
got
you
back
been doing?
from Finland. I've been in Finland seeing
Nice.
Tom Stenback,
Thompson back, who
who makes my fantastic basses.
fine luthier and lovely
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So I went over to the northwestern coast of Finland, a place
Mhm.
called Vasa, or Vasa,
Mm-hmm.
and where they speak Swedish. Actually, it's a Swedish-speaking part of Finland, and
I didn't know that.
I got to So he speaks Swedish.
Okay.
He
And what
speaks Finnish as well, but yeah.
What were you doing? Can you just talk about what you were doing over
No.
there? You can't. Can't say.
Yes, I can. I was doing a little bit of consultancy R&D stuff towards some electronics that he's developing with his design partner Martin,
Mm-hmm.
who has got he's got a great studio But he's also got an old Harrison desk that was used by Zeppelin and ABBA, and so A to Z,
all the way through.
Yeah, and they have they've got some fantastic monitor speaker studio monitors that they've been developing as well, and through those fine monitors and through that desk, we were recording some bass and tweaking various parameters and knobs on some circuitry that they're developing for
this
like a studio. No, it's like this is for a studio preamp.
Oh, okay.
Which sounded amazing on bass. It's different. It's not just at one point there was a thought about going like a traditional EQ,
right?
But this is has more of a drive sensor. So there's like a low frequency which you can bring in just for kind of clean lows. But then there are a couple of different drives that interact with each other that have certain peaks. And Tom has called one mountains and the other one valleys, and you can kind of move them away from each other or towards each other, and they start to react differently. And that really kind of has a interesting effect on the mids,
right?
And on the high end. But the cool thing is the high end the mids still sound very, very natural. So you're not kind of boosting anything that doesn't sound natural. In fact, it was what we did find was it was really difficult to find any
tone that didn't
sound good.
Right.
But they're not just straight. It's not just straight tones. I mean, some sounded a lot like those kinds of great dynamic fuzzes, like the Doom pedal that I like by Three Leaf. Things that are not that dissimilar to that, where you can get almost like a synthy kind of tune through to synthy kind of tone through to very cool bass sounds. And the cool thing is that Martin used to he was a very good friend of Bruce Swedin's, and he's got some great old multi-tracks, and I hope I'm allowed to say that but he's got some access to tracks where we could listen to solo the bass on classic records. Right. So it wasn't a Moises thing. This was like literally multi-track stems.
Right, you've got the stems.
And listen to those, and then kind of have some fun kind of getting close to matching those tones, and then recording some bass, seeing how the bass sounded through that in comparison. It was really, really good fun. I mean, I got to play along with J.L. Robinson on a few tunes, doing Rock With You and Billie Jean and stuff, and it was really, really, that was amazing fun.
Amazing.
And Finland was great as well. I haven't been, we've both been to Vasa, and we've done the Pori Jazz Festival.
Yes,
we've been to Helsinki,
indeed.
but you usually go there in the summer months, and this obviously being last week was January, and dark.
I'd love to get that there.
It wasn't black though. I thought it would be like pitch black.
Right.
In the middle of the day, well, not the middle of the day, but I thought if they're working on like 90 minutes of daylight, it's going to be completely dark the rest of the time. It's not. It's like a twilight. It's really cool, and because there's all the snow reflection, it was really cool, really, really different, and it felt great to be there.
Tom is a lovely, lovely man.
Yeah.
Well, I met through you.
Yeah.
When we went to the NAMM show the first time my first time I went to the NAMM show, so we spent a couple of days with him and Joanna, his wife. Yeah. And that was before he'd made you this. I think it was in progress, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah. And this is I love this bass to bits.
This bass, you've been playing that
ever since.
What's that?
It's 7 years.
7 years.
It'll be 7 years in March.
Yeah.
And it's the bass that kind of made me eat my words, because I had said on a couple of occasions, like on magazine interviews and things, old is better than new, and 4 is better than 5. And I kind of felt that I'd done enough of my own kind of personal. I mean, that's my perspective. That's not clickbait BS, but that's how I felt strongly about that. But but this does have a lot of that stuff that I like about vintage basses. It kind of has some my design word that I use with Tom is pillow. It has some pillow, so it doesn't sound like I'm playing something that's just like, I find a lot of modern instruments sound just rock hard, like it kind of, there's no kind of a soak in it.
Right.
Like when you kind of play through a valve and you kind of hear a little bit of soap,
Sag.
a
Yeah.
little bit of sag.
Yeah.
I kind of like that about vintage instruments, and he's managed to do a few bits of black magic on this under the bridge and stuff like that, and get something that sounds brilliant. As you know, it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's a compromise with the fifth string. I usually find that the A string and sometimes the E string on 5 strings don't sound very good.
Right.
But this just sounds great everywhere. And I remember Rick Pope,
Yeah.
Jamiroquai's front of house guy, always used to go on about my white jazz bass, and that was the best sound he'd heard. And he was the very first gig I did with this was with Sean and Scoffrey.
Mm-hmm.
I think you were on that gig.
I think I didn't do that tour. I did the next tour.
It was the one in Islington at the church.
Oh, I did do that
Yeah.
one. Yes. Yeah.
And that was the
Yeah.
first time I used this on a gig.
Oh, okay.
And Rick said, I can remember saying during soundcheck, because he was at the back and it was it's another white jazz bass, and he went, "Is that your normal bass? That sounds amazing."
Yeah.
And ever since then, that's a nice kind of confidence boost when you get that, and especially from somebody who's got strong opinions on tone, and I know he likes what I generally like. So,
listening, standing up on the same stage with you in many different sort of outfits that we play together in, it is a really consistent sounding bass. It's beautiful. Anything on the low B usually can get lost, especially within ears, and it doesn't. It's still there.
It's got a clarity, hasn't it? Without sounding sounds thin. It sounds
produced. It sounds produced and polished, and it's not. And I know you don't use a lot of any compression or is passive.
Generally, it's a passive bass, so it's just volume, tone. There is this, and I remember saying to Tom, why have that huge control cavity if there's no active pre? And he wisely informed me that it's a sound chamber,
right?
And you can screw weights onto there, which gives the tone a little bit of a harder edge. I generally play without them, but it's a passive bass, and I don't like compression. I generally play pretty straight, unless it's an effect that is going to be noticeable, like an envelope or an octave pedal or a fuzz pedal or something where it's clearly me trying to sound like an old bass synth or something like that. Otherwise, I just kind of like to be pretty straight and do it with. There's enough variation there to blend the tone, nice passive tone, and you can move your hand. What I really like about this is it's very responsive, and there's some basses that I like. But there's I was going to say, I was going to try and keep it secret, but I always find, like with a Stingray, you play a Stingray and it's almost like it plays you. The sound is, it's that sound.
Yeah.
Obviously you can, Bernard Edwards with dead or flat wound strings sounded different to Lewis Johnson with round wounds, but it's a sound, and it's kind of quite tricky to get away from that, whereas this is very dynamic, really versatile. That's not to say I don't like a Stingray, but this, we've done some chic kind of things, and this, and I can still kind of get something that still has a punch, but a Stingray has a sound, and I think if you pass that bass around,
it still
sounds like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas this is a little bit more. It's a bit. I kind of think with Strats you get more out. You kind of.
There's a character to them.
Your character is allowed to come through, and I think that's the case with a jazz bass. Generally.
Yeah.
I love P basses, I love jazz basses, Music Mans, but the jazz bass has a bit more versatility.
Going to a session, what would you be taking?
Depending on who it's for and who the producer is, I still do a bit of work with some producers who don't like 5 strings.
Right.
Although this has proven successful even with them as well, but I would generally take a 4-string and this,
right?
Or I've got a kind of my Bootsy bass, which is the black version, so black with the white blocks, etc. So it's kind of like the.
And has that got flat?
Negative of this. That's got flats,
on it,
and that sounds great. I used it for a track the other night at home, and it sounds great. So I'll either take that or this, and an old Fender, either my 63P or my 66 Jazz. But actually now, even though the jazz bass, I did everything on that from the day I bought it. I took that to every gig and every session until getting this, and then it started to kind of get weaned out. And now
Yeah.
actually, I'll take this and maybe my P bass, because at least then there's two
Yeah.
different characteristics.
Yeah.
Um,
Beautiful
and
instrument.
I'll maybe take a pre like my
For the Monique.
Monique,
Yeah.
which I'll be able to lift a little bit dropping off, but that I'll maybe take that as well. It's
Yeah, he
called-
was
it's
also
called
there.
Jewel. Yeah,
It was, what was his name?
it's Jewel.
Jewel.
Yeah.
He was there. We used to go, we went for the breakfasts, didn't we?
Yes, he's
Bass-
a lovely chap.
Bass player breakfasts.
But the Jewel is missing from this because the bulb's gone.
The
And
bulb's
I couldn't get a bulb that actually
Fits.
worked. Or I found one that fits, but it was so dim it didn't really work. So anyway, that is great. Very kind of warm sound, a lot of lows in it. I have to be careful with how much lows
Yeah.
kind of come out of it. So I generally, with that again, I kind of just use it more for the saturation. Not
Right.
that. That's quite nice.
A bit,
Boosts a
little bit of grip to it.
harmonic.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's
That's-
kind of usually my
Your
arsenal.
go-to. That's what you've been using for a little while, actually.
Yeah.
That Monique. I remember you getting that not long after we went to NAM together. How long ago was that? That was
I
probably
brought it back. Yeah.
10 years ago.
Is it really?
10.
Yeah, it will
years
be.
ago,
Yeah. Almost, if not
God,
10,
That was fun.
certainly 9.
That was a fun
Yeah.
debauched
I'm surprised you can remember it.
5 days.
That was fun.
It was a week. Yeah. But yeah, we would go for breakfasts every morning.
I know when it was. It was the year that The Wolf of Wall Street came out.
It was the year that The Wolf of Wall Street came out
Because we wondered if we were being filmed. And I thought, hang on, they based this on.
on us.
Um,
We went to see that film. We arrived a day early to Anaheim. We had a friend of ours, Sergei, had lent us his house for the week, and we got there a day early, and we were walking around a mall,
yeah.
and we were a bit
Wondered
bored,
what to
and a
do.
little bit jet lagged, and then we just should we go and watch that film? We've heard it's pretty good, and we watched The Wolf of Wall Street, and kind of by the end of it, I don't know if you felt this, but I definitely did. I was a bit exhausted because it's so full on. But then we kind of looked at each other and we were like, those guys are all still alive, and they did that, so we can get away with half of that without.
So where's the nearest bar?
Where's the nearest bar? And we did. We would. I think we were. I don't think we got in. I don't think we went to bed separately, of course, till at least 4 a.m. every morning,
Yeah.
and then we were back on the.
When the local bartenders know you by your name.
Yes.
You're not local. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
a good sign.
But we.
Good fun trip.
It was great fun.
We will have to
But
do it
that's when
again.
we went to the and it's NAM show. It's NAM this weekend.
It
It's
is.
coming weekend.
So I'll get my FOMO
Yeah,
kind of panic on.
the everybody that we know Instagramming and texting that they're at the NAM show. Mind you, I don't think I could face it.
No, I think
Last time I went, it was
you've been
really,
since me, haven't you?
really
Yeah.
anxiety inducing because it's just so noisy, and you can't.
Yeah, it's all a bit hyper, isn't it?
Yeah.
I kind of definitely feel that I need to take a deep breath.
I just remember. I can say this. I can say this. It was probably the Saturday morning. We were very hungover, and there was a bass player on one of the stands. And I don't know who it
Well, the
was.
guy playing Very Good Times.
No, not that guy. Yeah, yeah. There was Bad Times. No, it was the other guy that was doing a typewriter impression on the bass, just slapping furiously. And you leant in, and I think you were still drunk, and you
Oh.
said, "Sounds pretty good. What does this sound like if you play music on it?" All right, we better go. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was great.
That was
Lots
probably
of
the Long Island iced tea talking.
that was lots of Long Island iced teas.
Yeah.
But the breakfasts were really good because I went. It was you, Steve Lawson, Jewel, Tom and Joanna from Stenback, Daryl from Dunlop.
Yeah.
Who
It
else
was a
was
great
there?
bunch of people, actually.
It
to
was a
hang out
lovely
with.
bunch of
Really,
people.
Really cool.
But all bass players and one guitar player.
Yeah.
And man,
We couldn't shake him off.
you guys are nerds. absolute nerds.
But getting back to that thing of like, what's the sound like if you play music on it? What I have always thought is amazing about those things is that nobody knows what the instruments sound like if you play a whole note on it
No,
until they've got home.
No.
Or whatever, because it's a shred fest.
oh, it's a complete shred fest.
But also from each booth next door to each other, so
man.
it's just a cacophony, isn't it?
I think it was the last
It's
time
an
I was,
onslaught
there
of
was a-
noise.
there was a cymbal stand, and there was a guy there just trying out cymbals, just going. Just
So actually,
whipping this.
it's probably not conducive to playing, a remark you made or something
No,
like that.
and there was another guy demonstrating an acoustic guitar amp, and then he started playing and was singing a really sort of like, bluegrassy, sort of lovely piece of acoustic guitar and singing, and someone on the next stand decided to pick up an Explorer style guitar and start joining in and jamming with him and just shredding all over it.
Keith Duffy was there as well, wasn't he?
He was there,
Great.
yes, yeah. It
Bass
was a
player and
fun.
friend Keith. He's got a video of me running from one side of the arena to the other, just like in a pretend panic. Although
Yeah.
that is how I felt some of the
It
time.
is just absolutely nuts. So if you're there this weekend,
Have fun.
enjoy.
Make sure that you give your ears a break.
Yeah.
Make sure you drink some water
And some Long Island iced teas.
and give your ears.
I
a
couldn't
break.
do that anymore. I couldn't do that again. That was just so.
It was a moment,
Yeah, we can't relive it.
and I'm jealous if anybody is doing that. But
Yeah, no
I'm not
thanks.
ready for it right now.
Not up for it. No. Quiet night.
Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Thailand.
We're going to Thailand. Why are we going to Thailand, Paul?
Oh, it's funny you should mention that, Rob.
Why are we going?
Because we're going to B&T it. We're going to boom and twang.
Yes.
We're going to boom and twang the hell out of Pattaya.
Yes.
Karma Studios, not
Yeah.
far from Pattaya, where we recorded.
Couple of tracks on the Rock Dust Light
We
Star album.
recorded.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, that's Use Me, isn't it? But that was there was a little bit of a vibe like that we did. Yeah.
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 Well, hey, we've still got
There's
it.
your hit record.
There's your hit record. Yeah, so we are
We
doing
recorded that
a Boom and Twang retreat
Mm-hmm.
in Thailand.
Sorry, that's when we recorded there with
We
Jamiroquai,
recorded-
didn't we? In
yes.
2010. Yeah.
2010.
And we're going back to host a
Boom and
guitar
Twang
and
retreat.
bass
Yeah.
retreat.
Yes. Which we will be joined by a couple of bass players.
Yeah, we've got some guys coming from Australia
Mhm.
and China, or Andy's from Belgium, I think, but lives
Right.
in China. And
And a couple of
Yeah.
guitar players from Australia.
Mhm.
And the idea behind the retreat is there's something that we thought about a while ago. Is there's so many courses online where people are studying their instrument on their own,
Mhm.
either guitar or bass. So we thought we'd hold these. We did one last year here in the UK. We thought we'd hold a retreat for bass players and guitar players to play. So they're all in a room playing together with each other. So you might get a couple of guitar players and a bass player. Just to sort of
get some interaction going. And
Yeah. focus on playing in an ensemble and how to groove together and
Maybe
coming up
spoke
with parts.
French.
Ensemble, yeah. What is the French word for ensemble?
I think it's restaurant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that to try and encourage and enjoy some of that interaction with playing. So
Yeah.
that it's not just about people getting used to or just kind of bogged down with playing in the practice room or whatever, wherever it might be with a metronome or a drum loop. I mean, there's some great backing stuff available.
Yeah.
The thing is, there is some amazing material online to to utilize, but yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of college visits over the years as well, haven't we?
Yes.
Where you can sometimes get people who have been taught information or have perhaps learnt information online, picked up information, I should say, but they struggle with the application of it. That's the most common thing, or realizing that they actually know quite often some of the things that they're perhaps asking. Why did you play that? What did you play there?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Quite often they already know. They just haven't really
Put it to
thought
use.
about it being used in a certain way.
Yeah.
Or they don't kind of even just have the chance to kind of develop their listening chops. Their ability to listen for places to play and working out how to develop a part, finding a nice part that knits with the other instrument. And obviously that's something that we enjoy doing.
It's a thing. I mean, one of the benefits I think of it is it's all great when you're, I'll sit in this room still now working on a part and playing it, but being in a room with other people playing, it feels completely different to have to do that, and it's just about knowing that and adjusting very quickly to it and not being scared of that. So I think that's the point. Is what we did on the last retreat was we would pair off guitar players and bass players with each other,
and we still do some individual lessons, one-to-ones and sort of stuff, so that people can really kind of ask some questions that may feel that, or they will feel will directly help them and their particular targets, or reaching their particular targets. But it was to try and pair people off, or get them used to thinking about playing and reacting to it with each other. Cough break.
Both coughing our guts up here, and it was what was interesting is we did have players of all levels sort of mucking in each other as well, and I think initially some people when they arrived felt a little bit inhibited, nervous, but actually very quickly everyone just mucks in, and we start playing quite quickly, so everyone just joins in, and eventually people are getting up and playing with people that they would never have thought they would.
And every single person on the last one commented at some point about how they had felt a bit nervy or unsure about whether or not they were going to be at the right level or stuff like that, and then they quickly realised that actually it's like when you realise that there's no such thing as an easy part or a difficult part, really.
No,
all parts are, they all have their challenges, don't they? And playing a simple part is just as difficult because you have to focus on other things that make that perfect. It's like I know quite a few drummers who don't like playing ballads because they find that the toughest thing. On a piece of paper, when written down, it's not, or if you explain it to somebody, it's not the toughest thing, but there's a challenge there. And likewise with, I think, with the things that we do, because we'll show how a simple part can be a brilliant bit of glue for a piece of music, and that's cool because then people immediately think, I can do that. Or we encourage some slow practice and slow development of your playing and your ideas, and then the players who might be worried about I haven't got that flash thing down, they suddenly think, I can hang with that. I've got something to bring to the table here. And also the guys who are already really accomplished at a certain level still find that challenging because they can appreciate the challenges of having to play something either slow or with restriction. And that's really what real playing is about, isn't it? If you're playing on the track that I played on the other night at home was a ballad, and the artist had basically said that the kind of reference thing was like the Silk Sonic, the Anderson .Paak, Bruno Mars, classic, brilliant, old school soul R&B. Yeah. But it was a ballad, and but he just wanted a little bit of movement there as well, and something just to kind of make it bounce a little with the drums, so kind of the note length thing was kind of I kind of thought that was one of the areas where you can kind of start to make it sound a little bit groovy,
Right.
And then a little bit of movement as you as you kind of develop the part. But those things are more challenging than if somebody just kind of goes wang
Yeah.
away, you know.
Yeah.
Because then you get if you're just playing flurries of notes, it's kind of quite easy to kind of get through a part. It's when you kind of if somebody tells you you've only got one note, one
note to
passing note,
play. Yeah.
you got one riff in the whole tune,
Yeah.
one moment to fill.
Yeah.
That's going to make you think about that fill
Yeah.
a little bit more,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
be considered. And also, it's coming from nothing. So if it's coming from nothing, it's got to be tasteful. It's got to kind of So those kinds of things are, and it's those qualities that I've always admired in players over the years. I love those players where you just kind of think, oh man, that's what a note, what a phrase,
What a placing.
Yeah. Whether it's
or a pickup.
Pino Palladino or Neil Stubenhouse, or it can be guys who everybody knows and guys who very few people know, but you can hear a certain quality and just choice of note and what tone or what etc. It's that thing of really honing in on detail.
So
I love.
I have a question for you now. Do you think there is, and you're gonna, it's
you can edit it out.
Might be controversial. Do you think there's too much emphasis these days with social media playing, like Instagram and TikTok musicians, not just guitar players, bass players, to be flash out of the gate?
Well, kind of, without doubt, is on the tip of my tongue to say straight away, because that's in some ways the only way that you can grab attention sometimes. But I think the issue you kind of have to keep coming back to, is that what you want to
Is that what you want to
use
be?
to grab attention?
Yeah.
Is that because once you've done that, or if that's all you're doing, then that is you, and that is how you'll be seen. Obviously, we come from an era when there wasn't any social media, and so I can remember feeling like I didn't even want people to know the other things that I was doing, because if I was doing a pop gig, I didn't want them to know that I was doing a jazz gig or a gig that they might think, or the other way around, that something where they might kind of think, oh well, if he's doing that, he's not really going to be able to rock out, or he's not going to be able to, he's going to overplay, or he's going to get bored on our thing. We don't want. So I kind of almost was secretive about what I would do, or what I was doing. And obviously, there's an encouragement to kind of try and post about everything that you do. I just think that there's it's almost like the only way that you can have your voice heard to a degree, and so I kind of sympathise with the whole setup and the feeling of needing to do it, because it's how you can. And there's some people who've made a huge success, certainly success as in becoming a known person in the Instagram scene. So it's definitely valid, and a lot comes down to what you want to be known for, how you want to be pictured when you're. If somebody kind of suggests somebody for a gig, and you've got a certain kind of persona, then if you're happy with that persona, there might be some gigs where that isn't going to work, and people might kind of write off considering you if they think that that you only do a certain thing. But it's the new world, isn't it? Isn't it? But I think as well, you'd have to say that what I think is a real shame is that most of these things are people on their own playing. And so what you get is you get that unrealistic mix or performance where it's all about that instrument. And of course, in reality,
it's
not
very little about the instrument.
I say in reality, though, But if you're just looking for clicks, then that is Flash is going to get
so
you there.
on the sessions you've done, so going back just a little bit, I know I feel this way, but in the studio when you're doing the session, I know for me, like guitar wise, that's the best the guitar's going to sound, because after it's been through the process of, you know, going through the producer's hands and then the mix engineer's hands and A&R's hands and the mix engineer's hands again, quite often you can't. I you know, I know we did a record together. I was listening through, going, "Is that a guitar?" Or that happens so much now. So
and to be honest with you, sometimes that's happened on records that I've done where I've played and we've tracked some like piano, drums, and bass. I remember doing a really nice singer-songwriter album years ago, and I remember I had that old 1959 Gibson EB2.
Yes. Yeah.
Banjo tuners, and the thing just sounded so rich and full, but there was no there's no front on the note. It was just like a lovely, almost double bass kind of bloom. And those tracking days, it sounded great because it was just 3 instruments and a voice.
Yeah.
But by the time there had been a decision made to let's add another little keyboard thing, and then a full orchestra, and then maybe a guitar part, a bit of percussion.
Yeah.
And then being mastered and mixed, the bass it was just like some low frequency moving around in the bottom. I mean, I know that's what bass is, but there was none of where I kind of thought that there was some nice little movement and things. You couldn't really hear it, and so that was disappointing. It was kind of an eye opener, but so it can happen. But
a massive learning when I started recording is I realised that when you're doing the job, when you're in the session doing it, that is always normally it's the loudest you're going to hear it in the track.
Yeah.
You know, when a record comes out and you listen to it, you know, you nowadays you go online to listen to it, you go, where's that guitar part? And this has gone on, you know, watching some of the guys I watch at the moment. I'm really sort of listening to people like Dan Huff and Michael Thompson. I've got a bit of an 80s guitar fixation going on at the moment, hence my Dimension C pedal right here, which is plumbed in all the time. But there's a lot of stuff where they're going, I played this because I knew it was going to be behind the keyboards. You know, Michael Thompson was talking about a record that he played on for Tony Braxton, and he'd been asked questions. I think it was on the Vertex. Mason Marangella was asking him, he was going, "What song did you play on there?" He said, "Well, yeah, I kind of did some guitars on this, but you can't really hear them. You can hear it just in this bit, you can kind of hear it there. And I think everything's used, but just it's not used in the way you think it's going to be used.
Yeah.
It's not, it is never the main focus, because always the main focus is, everything is there to frame what the vocal's doing. So,
and some of those things are cool, and sometimes you know, I've caught some of the things that I do love about YouTube and social media is the great insight that we're able to get on some of those older records, and so you'll kind of hear or be shown examples of how they maybe stacked a couple of synth sounds, maybe with the guitar part doing it. It's like kind of going back to Tic Tac Bass, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when you kind of hear those Beach Boy records or something like that, and then you finally find out, oh, that's because Carol Kay and you know,
someone's playing an upright and someone's playing a Dan Electro baritone
with a pick,
and it's giving the nose of the bass sound. Yeah,
and
I love that stuff.
So it's kind of been going on for a long time, and I love that creativity.
Yeah,
is brilliant, but it can sometimes be a little bit of a knock or a disappointment when you don't know. Sometimes I don't even think, dare I say it, I don't even think the producer necessarily knows, because of where things can go. Once everybody gets their two penneth in, things are reconsidered, but you don't know how the track is intended to be. And so, like you say, that moment when we're listening back to, in fact, I did a thing with Derek last week, and we were in the studio, and when we kind of
Derek McKenzie, by the way.
Yeah, when we done a take of bass and drums, we went back and basically listened back without the guide track, so it was just drums and bass, you know. And I kind of joked that's my kind of mix. You know.
Yeah. I remember being in the studio early days when I first joined Jamiroquai. When Toby Smith was in the band, it was hilarious watching him in the studio because he would stand back listening to the playback, and then when no one was watching, all the keyboards were usually grouped to one bus. He would just walk up and nudge the bus up, nudge up the keyboard bus, constantly doing it. But you realise that all of those decisions are made so much later on by someone who's not, someone who's basically trying to realise what the song is going to be. And it took me a while to get into that headspace of that's how. So even when I'm recording now, when I have my mix, when I'm in a session and say we're in a room playing together, which is very rare these days, I always want my guitar mix to be where it would be in the track. Because I don't want to hear it over loud. I don't want to hear it too quiet. I want to hear it where it would sit in the track, because I'm going to play differently with that. Play with a different intensity.
I usually go for my own volume a little bit louder than it would be.
Right.
I kind of like it to be clear, but I do know what you're saying. I kind of just like that because with bass, so much of the time you kind of are lacking in a little bit of just definition or clarity. Certainly,
and also
when you're used to
the
doing
quality of its hands,
sometimes the bass sound isn't that great in the ears, or or you've kind of come through a traditional gigging scene of, dodgy sounding stages at clubs, and you kind of get so used to that thing that it's nice to then start to, when you can have a little bit more level or your own setting, to be able to go, I'm going to turn my monitor up a little bit or whatever and have it a bit louder. So my in-ear sound on stage is generally, I have a very wide mix, so it's kind of the whole tune, everybody's parts. I don't kind of do that thing of like, just give me just drums, bass and a bit of harmony. So I like the whole track
to sound like the record,
but with the bass sitting higher than it would do in the mix ordinarily.
I hear you. Yeah, I have the same thing. I need to have the bass and the drums, everything really. The one thing I might have a little bit less is because we're in Jamiroquai, everything's plugged in. It's not necessarily a lot of mics apart from on the drum kit and the vocals.
Yeah, so it's not ultra lively.
So I will have vocal mics down, not perhaps sitting completely proud, because then there's more bleed from the PA down the mics than I need. So I can hear everything to know where I am in the track, and the lead vocal obviously sits above, but everything else, it pretty much sounds like a mix for me. But I mean, these are all things that people sitting in a bedroom aren't going to know about and even think about.
But I think there's some curiosity.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's always a lot of questions in the environment when we're doing it, and it's great to kind of be able to give some insight on that. I was just thinking about when you're talking there about levels of vocals and about learning the skills of like how you communicate to a monitor engineer. You never say down the mic.
No.
Can I have less lead vocal in my monitor, please?
No, you don't do that.
Nah. You just wait till somebody's turned the other way. And
then You never announce to the turn that you want their vocals turned down. Ever.
No.
Yeah, you don't. Etiquette. It's like, does my bum look big in this? Does my bum look big in this?
But on a serious note, you don't want to kill somebody's confidence and vibe. And
no, say you're working for someone like Morrissey, Paul.
I could probably get him right in the zone.
You could.
Because he performs well when he's
not happy,
Yeah. Heaven knows he's miserable now.
Funny. I won't say. I won't say. There's a story, but I can't say. But yeah, I mean, and one of the other things with the retreats is to hopefully build up a bit of a community of people that would collaborate. Even Joni agrees. Joni the dog. Just building up sort of guitar players and bass players that would like to collaborate, perhaps get together and play.
Yeah.
just trying to. There's not enough of that these days. People actually going out and playing together.
And being able to soundboard off each other. Last night there
Yeah.
was on one of the WhatsApp groups. Jason from Canada posted a great video that he's just done. He's at NAMM.
Oh, he's at NAMM, is he?
Yeah. Anyway.
Hi, Jason. Where's your
He's there with
earplugs?
his band and he's doing some stuff for Radial.
Oh,
and so
really?
he's posted this really super cool video of him and his lads and his band doing a video for Radial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. But what's really cool is there's that little group of people who are all
Yeah.
giving feedback to each other and, posting up their recent recordings and
Yeah.
their things that they're listening to at the moment, things that they found, bits of gear, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a nice little network, and it comes from that thing of them enjoying that combined.
Being in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best fun ever. You know,
And it's a nice hang, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a nice hang for us as.
Yeah, we had some people, some of the guitar players and bass players that turned up on all of the things we've done. Actually, they'd never played with someone else before, and they think it's so daunting to do it. But actually, when they do it, they realise it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You don't have to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You could just play. You know, especially when you're playing a well crafted song. It's actually easy. It's equally complicated but easy to play an easy thing. You know, you don't have to be incredible to do it.
Yeah.
It just
I think we've kind of come from a background of being a bit spoiled by just taking that for granted.
yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
we've both been doing gigs since
We were
early teens and kind of,
whippersnappers.
so we
Yeah.
kind of got used to that. But it's a bit like the first time you get into a recording studio, the first, those kinds of moments where you're not sure what it's going to be like, what the demands are going to be, and then it opens your
Yeah.
eyes and ears and
And it's very rarely what you think it's going to be like. You go. I remember being sat in the room next to my amp. First time I was in a studio, not really understanding the mechanics of it. You know what it goes through. There's a microphone on my amp, and I'm sat next to it, and it's going through there and then coming back to me. Why can't I hear it? And now I can hear it, and it sounds terrible. But because you can't hold up the session too much,
Yeah.
you've got to get on with it.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with it. You have to trust that when you go into the control room to listen back, that it's going to be good. And that's what will always happen, is you'll go in and kind of listen to what's being captured, which will hopefully give you the confidence to go out there and do another 10 takes to play the part right. But it's learning, I guess, your gear, so you know what's being captured. That's a big thing. That's why I most of the time, if I'm in a studio, I prefer to be in the control room if I can.
Yeah, I've always been a little bit obsessed with that. I can remember when I lived in the Isle of Man and we used to do a lot of gigs. There wasn't really a contemporary recording studio in the Isle of Man when I was playing there, but I used to do some really good gigs, and there was a place called the Palace Leader, which was a huge venue. It held like 4,000 people, and my band used to do the band I was in used to do a Sunday night there.
Yeah.
And I was able to get there in the afternoon with the sound engineer, and I got these longest kind of guitar cables that would be linked with pedals, and I'd stand out in the middle, just kind of think, God, the bass sounds so puny, because I couldn't believe, it didn't sound like my instrument. And then I'd be like, right, can I hear it through the PA? It's a big learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Huge.
But then hearing your sound in the studio for the first time when it's soloed, and the other thing that I always remember being something that I kind of associated with any recording day, when certainly in the early sessions when I was going there with bands, we try, to record our new original song, was how long it took to get a drum sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it's like, when are we going to play something?
Yeah.
Because that was just always such a challenge.
Yeah.
And obviously, with when you start working with better drummers and better engineers and in studios with better gear and etc., it can be done much, much quicker.
Yeah.
And you can also maybe get a call to arrive when they expect it to be done. But in those early days where everybody, what time are you getting there? Right, let's all get there half an hour early.
Yeah.
And you sit around for 2 hours waiting for
Well,
the kick drum sound.
even longer than that. I know that you and I have sat won't say what the session was, but we sat for a week waiting for the drum sound to be fixed. A week where we're looking at each other going, what the fuck going on? And it was, but that's what sometimes happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was back when there was a budget for recording. Nowadays they just get a take and then sound replace the
I
drums
was
anyway.
going to say, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
soul destroying as
It's-
well. I mean,
yeah.
imagine being the drummer on those
Yeah.
sessions. And
I heard the
really
other day
was-
that J.R. Robinson would take samples of his snare, of his kit for different songs, different hits. He would go with a I think it was called a Drumatics, and they would say, oh, we want the sound you got on so and so. So we say, well, let me do the take, and then we trigger it
Wow.
these sounds with that thing, because you can't recreate.
Wow.
It's very hard to recreate.
Yeah.
You know, I know, talking from a guitar point of view, nowadays it's easier with modelers and stuff like that. You plug in, you get exactly what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But moving from studio to studio with amps, I've been to some studios where my amps didn't sound great. It was like I can't get a good tone out of them
Because of the room or
where
the
room-
mains or
the mains. One particular studio, I never had. It was. I remember an Olympic actually when we
Mhm.
worked in an Olympic. I could never. I didn't actually like the sound of the drum sound in it. I didn't like the sound of the drum sound in Olympic. But you know, it ends up coming out. But it's all about trying to get as comfortable as you possibly can, as quickly as you can,
Yeah.
so you can play well and do the job
Yeah.
that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, we have prattled on for 50 minutes.
What?
I know. That's nothing compared to us sat in the back of a taxi on the way to an airport. That's nothing.
Yeah, with the guy kind of going round and round the roundabout.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
He wants to listen as much as he wants the end
to
of the
listen
story.
to what
He
cables
wants
sound
the end
better.
of the Morrissey story.
He wants the end of the Morrissey story. I can't tell the Morrissey story because we might get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
And heaven knows we'd be miserable now. But thank you for joining us, Paul. Me, we didn't play. We played a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And we can. Yeah, we can.
But if anyone is
Pop that
interested if anyone's interested at all in
hearing us talk more.
hearing us talk more and doing some one-to-one lessons with myself and Paul,
Yeah.
at Karma Studios in Thailand, drop us a email to Boom and Twang. That's BOOMNTWANG @gmail.com. Did I get that right?
You did get that
I
right.
did get that right.
And also, we've got our retreat in March, 1st
Yes.
to the 3rd of March
In the
in
UK.
the UK.
Yeah.
And there's still some spaces on that as well. And it'd be great to kind of
Yeah.
have more people involved.
Come and join us, and we do one-to-one lessons. We also do a thing where Paul will be doing some lessons with the guitar players, and I'll be taking some of the bass players to play with. Just really sort of get into the nitty-gritty of ensemble playing. What's the
Awesome.
French
Yeah.
word for ensemble?
Ensemble.
Ensemble.
But
And
also some group lessons and
Yeah.
some in the UK. We'll have Derek there
Yes.
on the final afternoon to do some rhythm section
yeah,
playing
workshops
as well. And
yeah.
that proved very popular last time with bass players being able to play with
Yeah.
Rob and Derek.
And we all hang out, we have breakfast together, lunch, dinner, and then after a good day's work and music, we all sort of hang out in a bar and shoot a few games of pool and talk guitars and basses.
Yeah.
And it's not
Well-
as loud as NAMM, not as loud as the NAMM show.
What better thing could you possibly do?
Yeah. Thanks for watching and
listening.
If you've got any questions, drop me a line on robsfunkandjunk@gmail.com. And of course, check out the amazing Mr. Paul Turner with his lovely bass.
Yeah, thank you. And our lovely straps.
Our lovely straps.
Our lovely right-on straps.
Right on straps. Just
That's
saying.
very nice. Very, very
Just
very
saying.
nice.
So Paul has his lovely right on straps.
Yeah, a signature right-on strap.
And my son bought me a lovely vegan right on strap, of which
Which is very nice. I was admiring that.
Yeah.
I really like that. And also, don't you like the inside?
Yeah.
Oh, so
it's gorgeous.
plush and
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is,
You just got a little pick holder.
yes, it has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was the only one who had that.
Excuse me. But yeah, this is great. My son got me this for Christmas,
really nice.
so I'll be looking to get a few more of these. But yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and I hope you're all well out there, and bye.
I thought that was about 20 minutes.
I was looking at the time.
Could I try that guitar stand before I leave?
Yeah.
Because the only reason I don't take one